Welcome to this week's Running Tales podcast. Thanks for joining me, Craig Lewis, as I take another look at the extraordinary achievement of one member of that group of slightly mad people that we like to call runners. This week's guest is Mark Kennedy, and I've been speaking to Mark about his new book, Half Man, Half Marathon, which is due to be published in early October, just in time for Christmas. People might remember Mark's story from way back on episode 3 of Running Tales. In that episode, Mark told us how running had helped him overcome a serious brain injury. He's now become a member of the exclusive 100 Half Marathon Club, and that's what his book is all about. It also features stories from a host of other inspiring runners, including Michael Williams, who ran from John O'Groats to Land's End, and Andy Cottrell, aka Sharky, who's a member of the 100 Marathon Club. There's a reason why I mention those people in particular. They are former Running Tales guests, and you can listen to Mark's original story in episode 3 of Running Tales, Sharky's story in episode 43, and Michael's story in episode 11 of series 1, and also in series 2, episode 1. But for now, join me as I talk to Mark Kennedy about his new book, Half Man, Half Marathon. Well, I'm with Mark Kennedy, and Mark, we spoke to you before a long time ago. We just worked out between us that it was just as we were going into the pandemic right at the start, and that was about your story. We're not going to speak so much about kind of your background story, but just remind people about the biggest challenge you faced in running and why.
Yeah, so I can't believe that was before the pandemic. That seems ages ago. But yeah, my biggest challenge was 10 years ago this August. I suffered a brain injury in a freak fall whilst on holiday. So I literally just went to the toilet, blacked out, hit my head, and then was told a week later that over 95% of people don't survive that. So obviously very fortunate to be able to still be active and run, and my side effects are more psychological and neurological as opposed to physical now.
And you used, one of the things you used to help you through that was running to a ridiculous degree, because you now have a book out, Half Man, Half Marathon. What I guess, explain why it's called that, because that explains a lot about your running.
Yeah, so when I ran, I did all the usual. Started off with the Great North Run, did the London Marathon, got charity place there, and that was fantastic. But I always realised that marathons were just a little bit too far. So half marathon was my distance really, and I just found I really enjoyed it and I couldn't stop doing it. Wanted to do more and more and more. So it became a goal to get to 100.
And that's something you've reached now, isn't it? I'll ask you maybe a little bit about that in a minute, but perhaps first explain to everyone the idea around the book and what the book is all around and how it works, because it's a little bit of a different way of writing a book rather than it just being purely your story.
Yeah, so the idea behind it is I love other people's stories, and as we know from the running community, there's a lot of energy to feed off other people. So the idea behind the book was to capture not just my story, but to capture what it does for others, how it can have such a positive effect on people's mental health, how we can create a community. So when I had my accident, I was also playing football. Now, I'll use the term playing football loosely. I was playing football very badly, but I was playing football for fun. And I really enjoyed that. I had to stop playing football because I got told no more contact sport. And I didn't realise until that point about how much more a team sport maybe running is. Even though you run on your own, you run to your own goals, I think there's less expectancy. So only the expectancy we put on ourselves, of course, but there's less expectancy. You have to do this time, you have to do this race, you have to turn up and set the kit up, or you have to turn up and be in a certain place at a certain time. So it is all down to you. And I wanted to capture that community. I wanted to capture the positive mental health, but then also just share people's stories that I found on the way, because they've just blown me away.
And you do really have a wide variety of stories on there, without giving away too much that's in the book, because we want people to go and read it and buy it, most importantly. Yeah. Are you able to just share a couple of stories from it, and also maybe just give people an idea of that huge variety.
Yeah, indeed. So we've got the guy who ran one end of the country to the other, and if you listen back to the podcast, you'll work out that Michael did that. There's also stories of people who set up challenges in lockdown. So I've got a really, really good friend, and we kept each other sane in lockdown by just creating some silly challenges. But it also talks a little bit about his story. He's also called Mark as well. So how running helped him escape from some issues he faced in life. We've also got a couple of lads who came together because Darren, who's blind, wanted to run a sub 4 hour marathon, and John decided to guide him. And they become really, really good friends. And now Darren has realised how much that's given him an escape. And I think he used the word in the book that I would be sitting at home depressed if I didn't run. So it's wonderful. And what a really nice guy. I got my another friend who used to live locally. She's moved away to the Canary Islands now, bless her. But she tells a story about when she ran the London Marathon years ago, and the sweeper truck caught her up. Yeah. And said it was absolutely one of the best, but also one of the worst moments of her life. So that's Jodie's story. And then, Sharky was a guy that a lot of people know, and he ran 100 marathons. So he inspired me to get on the 100 half marathons and do half the distance, but in as much of the time probably. So yeah, plenty of really great stories. There's little snippets from people as well who will just jump in with a one-liner and that and say, how they felt when they finished their first ever race, or when something went wrong, how they overcame it, and just generally what the sport's done for them.
Because the book acts a little bit, I don't know if this is quite the right phrase, because it's a bit of a funny phrase, isn't it? But it acts a little bit as a self-help as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the spot-on phrase for it, really. Yeah, so our business is all around personal development. All of our other books are around personal development as well. So I wanted to bring in here...
Tell people, Mark, because I might as well give you the plug, what your businesses are.
The plug we have is a Future Toolbox. So we work with a lot of young adults, teenagers, school students, school teachers, families and community groups. And the idea is we just want people to use personal development tools and just step forward in life, move one step in the right direction. If we can help people do that, they could take one bit of inspiration. That's brilliant. So yeah, that's the Future Toolbox.
Yeah.
And all these books go into the Future Toolbox.
Yeah, that's right. So how, in terms of Future Toolbox and self-help, does that work with half man, half marathon?
Yeah, we've got a bit at the end of each paragraph, which is called Thoughts Running Through the Mind. So in that part there, I'll reflect on each chapter and maybe dig into what somebody has learned about themselves in their story, and also what I've learned about myself, and then set a little challenge in there. So go and grab a pen and write this down. And, it could be something like, I'm just picking one here. This is one about visualization. So it talks and it refers to the great Roger Bannister using visualization when he broke the 4-minute mile barrier. And the fact that the guy visualized it so many times, some mornings he'd wake up and thought he'd already done it, and then have to kick himself back into action because he realised he hadn't. So I love that story. But this particular one here is just saying about how can you visualise, or what's your visualisation going to be like when you achieve your goal. And I applied that to the time when I was thinking about the first half marathon I did. I kept visualising crossing the line in the Great North Run. So yeah, little tools in there.
Yeah, fantastic. No, I really like the book, but both for that side of things, and obviously for what we do on Running Tales as well, which is telling people stories, because there are all of these stories that people who, that they're not Olympians, they're not people who run 100 miles in one go. We love those people on Running Tales too, but it's from everyone who just laces up their trainers, gets out the door and does something, and they've all got this fantastic love of running and those fantastic stories to tell. Yeah,
that's right. It's something that anybody can do, really. So you get a decent pair of trainers and you can do it. And I love my local park run. I love waiting there at the end and seeing people crossing the line who are maybe doing it in over an hour because they're doing it. The guys who are doing 15, 16 minutes, we never see them. They've gone home. But on a serious point, yeah, it is something for everybody, and it is really, really aimed at those people that just want to get out there, want to improve their well-being, want to improve their mental health, And I went through a stage where I was chasing down PBs all the time, and I was buzzing, then going home and completely crashing.
Yeah.
Because things, after effects of my brain injury, weren't great at that point. Whereas now I just love going out and running. And the other week I done one of my slowest half marathons, but I loved it. It was brilliant.
Well, I mean, I had something kind of similar myself, where it was running was I always had to go as fast as I can every time I put my trainers on. It's not especially fast anyway, but as fast as I go. There was no point going slower than that, because otherwise I was, in my mind at that point, cheating myself. And it was only when I tried to run 1,000 miles across the year, and I was like, if I'm going to do that, I'm just going to get injured all the time if I blast it. And when I started doing those slower runs, they were actually the most enjoyable runs, and the chatty runs and so on. And yeah, it's a really, and you can gain that real community. And I think for people's mental health, that's obviously really, really important sometimes.
Yeah, indeed. It's taking the pressure off yourself, isn't it? And well, I think we've all been there, haven't we? We felt like we have to sprint finish at the end of a race or something like that. But yeah, going out the door and just enjoying it. I learnt when I was running abroad a little while ago that I'd run with my phone and then stop and take a photo, and then run a bit further and stop and, oh, wow, this is amazing, or it's really hot today, I'm going to stop and just take a moment and look at this scenery. And I realised that every time I started, I actually felt stronger. So sometimes that stop-start does work. I'll reference to Sharky in the book, who done he's nearly up to 200 marathons now. But he openly will tell everybody that he's walked in every single one of them. And that's even the ones where he was breaking 4 hours. He built in a walk break. And sometimes we have this misconception that we have to do everything as quickly and get to the top and get on the winner's podium. And we don't have to do it, do we?
Yeah. But I'm not going to let you off the hook completely, though, because I still think it's pretty sensational for someone to have done 100 half marathons. What possessed you?
I don't know, really. I did the first one and I just kept going. And then I think I became aware that I was enjoying it when I'd done probably about 30 odd, and thought, oh, this is my distance. I'm still doing other races. But a lot of things, we like numbers and statistics, don't we? Park run's great for that. I will bore my wife stupid over my park run stats, and she politely tells me that she's not listening, but I still carry on. And I think I got to 50 odd, and I was thinking, well, I want to do 100. And then I became aware of the 100 Half Marathon Club, which is very similar to the 100 Marathon Club. And I just thought, yeah, I just want to tick that off, and I want to officially record them, just for my own goal, really. And it took 14 years from number 1 to number 100. So it wasn't like I was going out and running one every day or trying to do 3 in a weekend to tick them off. And
which is what you hear from people like Sharky with the 100 Marathon Club. It's like, oh, I did 3 marathons this weekend, because if I didn't do 3 marathons, I was never going to get there.
Yeah, I think, I take my hat off to anybody that does that. But again, you've got to be careful of injuries if you're doing that sort of thing. But you could do it a lot quicker if you wanted to. I know people who have done it a lot quicker. But it is about running your own race, and that's what running is all about, isn't it?
And I guess the great thing about half marathons, unlike sometimes with marathons, is there's lots of half marathons out there, so you don't necessarily have to sort of create your own. You've got ones out there which will give you a nice medal and a good T-shirt at the end.
That is right. There's a lot of choice, and when we came back after the pandemic, and I thought, right, that's it. I've got to set my 100th and fit these in. I ended up doing something like, I can't remember, 15 or something in a year. Maybe it was a few more. And there was a lot of choice. Sometimes that was the hardest thing, having a lot of choice. Yeah. But I'd rather have a lot of choice than none at all.
So what have been your favourite ones?
Wow, let's have a look. I've got a list of them here. So running abroad, I love. Probably the funnest one was a Benidorm half, because it starts at 6:30 in the evening and most people that are supporting are drunk. So there's definitely a good atmosphere there. One of the most beautiful I did in Fuerteventura, across some sand dunes, which sounds ridiculously hard, but the sand was quite compact. So that was just stunning. It was like running across a desert. I'm going to say one of my absolute favourites is Northampton, because it's my hometown. Yeah. And you just see so many people on the route that there's a buzz. There's a lot of people from our club. There's a lot of people from other clubs. There's loads of people for park run, and then people that you just know that are doing it for the first time. And I really enjoy the route. Some people moan about the industrial estate you go through in the middle, but we won't talk about that. And then, I guess some of them, I done one at Dunstable Downs the other week. And that was just beautiful, running through woodland and across the top of the downs and just seeing countryside for miles. So I've got a lot of favourites on that 100 list, but there are a few that I'll pick out there.
Yeah, no, that's great. Any sort of weird and wonderful ones where they've either I don't know, anything strange has happened, or they've given you really weird goodie bags or something.
Yeah, there's actually a bit about goodie bags in the book. So the Benidorm half, I got a bag of salt, kilogram of salt, which was we gave it to a local bar because I thought I don't need to bring that home. I've had
Why did they give you a kilogram of salt?
Absolutely no idea at all. There was a lot of them left behind at the finish line, so what a waste of the world's resources. If you want salt, go and do the Benidorm half. Apparently some friends got that last year as well. I do remember doing that one in Fuerteventura, and the race was just about to start. We were all standing there in the sun, 10 o'clock in the morning. It was sort of in the early 20s in October. And there was all this excitement, this guy shouting as loud as he possibly could in Spanish, so obviously I couldn't understand what he was saying. And he started the countdown from 10, and the power generator went off, which meant the finish arch, the start-finish arch, just collapsed. And of course all the chip timing went off, so the whole race had to wait for them to restart all the systems. And we were literally on 10, 9, oh, hold on a second. So, that was quite amusing. And there is one, I need to put that in the book, actually. I wasn't in there. And there is one I remember doing at Adderbury, which sadly they don't run anymore, but in Oxfordshire. Totally off-road route, and the whole course flooded one year. And the marshal, we hopped over a stile, and the marshal went, be careful of the bridge. And it was about a foot underwater.
No way.
And he was chuckling to himself, so you're wading through this. But obviously didn't want to step off either side because it would have been even deeper. Quite amusing. There is another one in the book as well about the race just after the pandemic. I did at Clipston, and there was a kissing gate where a guy was sanitising your hands with gel.
Right.
And he'd sanitised so many people's hands that there was a puddle of gel on the floor that you had to run through. So your feet also got sanitised.
Because there were some strange races
post-pandemic,
understandably, but...
But you can read more about them in the book, definitely.
Yeah. What would you say to people? This is a kind of obvious question, but you're a really positive person. You've done a lot of running, and you credit running with a lot of your kind of, I suppose, success in life. I don't know if that's too far to say, but what would you say to people who are thinking about starting running for the first time and getting involved in this amazing community you speak about?
Oh yeah, do it, absolutely. I guess the first step is making a decision to start. So if you've never run before and you're not in the right fitness shape or whatever, go and join a Couch to 5K. Don't worry about what people think of you, because a lot of the stuff that we think about ourselves is actually in our head, and people will just encourage you. If you're coming back to it, or you're looking to get into running and going from another sport, then just find a like-minded running community and join in with them. And if you find that you can't keep up with people, tell them you can't keep up. If you're going too quick, join somebody quicker. But people will always help you in it. And I think the best thing to say, we know it from our park run, is that the community is so supportive. And generally, most people are doing it because they love it, and not because they're gold medal athletes or they have aspirations of running the Olympics or even winning the races. And just seize it and enjoy it. But things will hurt.
that is really good advice. Yeah, people need to know how wonderful it is, but also that it does come with pain, particularly if you start doing things like 100 half marathons. Mark, thank you so much. I think that's fantastic advice. Just one final question for people: where can they find the book? Where can they get it from?
Where can they get it from? Well, it's on our website, which is kennedyauthors.co.uk. So that's our specific book site. Every book's got to be on Amazon, so you're going to find it on there. The Kindle version will be available as well, so it'll be on Kindle Unlimited if you're a subscriber. But just pop in my name, Mark Kennedy, half man, half marathon. I'm sure you'll find it.
Excellent. Thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you for joining us on Running Tales. We hope you enjoyed this week's chat with Mark Kennedy. Please have a listen to our previous episodes of Running Tales on whatever app you're on or at runningtales.podbean.com. You can also find us on Twitter at Running Tales Pod or on Facebook as Running Tales. We'd really appreciate it if you were able to leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. It could make a massive difference in terms of people being able to find and listen to the podcast. Again, hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and we look forward to seeing and hearing from you again on next week's Running Tales podcast.